Well, if you're one of those people who still listens to cassette tapes, or if you ever owned a cassette tape, you'll probably find this video pretty interesting. It's amazing to me when I get on eBay to see how many people are still buying and selling cassette tapes. Of course, most of these things were made 30, 40 years ago, and which presents a problem. There's this really common issue that happens with aging cassette tapes, and it actually doesn't have to do with the tape itself. It has to do with something that's in the housing, and that's what I want to show you today. It's kind of interesting how these things work. Now, in this little business that I run here, where we literally take old media like cassette tapes and turn them into digital files, MP3s, CDs, I've literally seen hundreds of thousands of tapes come into our studio. And what I'm going to show you here is the #1 most common problem that happens with aging cassette tapes that makes them not sound as good as they could. So here's what this is. This tape actually came in today, and this is what made me want to show you, do this little video. So if you move the tape out of the way, hopefully we'll be able to focus here, you'll see this little piece of metal right there. And it's kind of a square. Now, that doesn't look right. There's supposed to be a little piece of felt on it. Now let me show you a tape that actually is set up correctly. This tape, if you look at the same thing, you'll see this little piece of brown felt in that same spot. Now what is that, and why is that important? That is called a pressure pad. Now what purpose does this serve? Well, without that pressure pad, your tape probably is not going to sound very good, and I'll show you why. So this is a playhead. Now I pulled this out of a Sony tape deck to show you how this works. So when you put your tape into a tape player and you push play, what happens is this head goes up and it touches the tape. Then when it spins like so, it drags that tape across that playhead and it reads the magnetic data, and that's what makes the sound. But it's important that that tape head, when it goes up and touches it, that it makes a really solid connection. If it doesn't make a solid connection, of course, the sound's not going to be as good. Well, the reason that they have that pressure pad there is so that when the tape head goes up there, it actually literally sandwiches. Here's the pressure pad, here's the head, and they push together, and the tape goes in between it, and that is how you get a really solid sound. Well, over time, as these tapes age, those little pads fall off. And I'll actually show you. Now I've got one here that I can show you exactly what happens. You'll see right here that little pressure pad had just kind of fallen off, and it's just still sitting inside the housing. And a lot of times it'll be sitting in here, or it'll be sitting in the case, and if I went and played it right now, it'll fall off and it'll just probably lay down on the tape deck and you'll never see it again, but you'll wonder why your tape doesn't sound very good. And that's what it is. And so it's really simple then to replace these things. Now fortunately, the one that came in today, you'll see that it has screws, and there's actually 5 screws in tapes. You just remove those, and let me show you what they look like. This is actually the little pressure pad on the little mount, and it's really simple once you open it up just to take the old one out and just set the other one in. You don't have to connect anything, it just kind of floats in there. And well, where do you get one? Well, just go buy an old tape. Go to Goodwill and find just an old cassette tape or one that's sitting in your garage that doesn't have anything on it, and just pull the thing out and just put it in the tape that you need to work. Now, if your tape has screws and you can open it up, that's all you need to do. But if you ever bought tapes, especially these store-bought tapes that came from Columbia, when you'd send in a penny, I think it was, and you get 10 tapes. Older people remember what I'm talking about. Well, those are notorious for having these pressure pads fall off. The problem with those tapes is they were really, really cheap. And so there isn't screws. They were glued together. And so all you really need to do in that case, I'll just show you the one that I just showed you, is pull that apart, pull that away, put a little piece of glue right there on that spot, take the pressure pad, and once again, if you can't find the one that came with your tape, just go buy an old tape, remove it, and just glue it on there. Take a little piece of drop of Elmer's glue, set it on there, let it sit there for a couple hours until it's seated, and then push play, and it'll work. And so anyway, it's really that simple, but it's amazing that something so basic as that little piece of felt can have a really big impact on how well your tape plays. Now, whenever we get tapes into the studio, that's one of the first things we look for, is just to make sure that that pressure pad is connected. And if it's not, well, we have hundreds of these things just as backup, because we see this kind of issue so frequently. And so and we repair those things for free if you send it into us. But you don't need us to fix that. You can simply, if you're playing the tapes on your own and you wanted to be able to listen to them, and you've got a recording of Grandpa or Grandma or something, or your old piano recital that you still like to listen to, and that thing's missing, it's not going to sound as good. And it's really simple to replace. Just go buy an old tape, pull the thing out of the old one, stick it in the new one, and it'll work. And that's really all there is to it. Anyway, I hope you find that interesting. I love this stuff. I get really passionate about it, and it's fun. It's fun dealing with this old equipment and seeing these little things that make such a big difference.